we stopped a ticking time bomb. That's what Israel is saying after a deadly strike in Gaza. The assault killed key Hamas terrorists who were planning more attacks against the Jewish state.
The terrorists were operating out of a school run by the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. Some of them took part in the October 7th massacre. Chris Mitchell brings us the story from Jerusalem.
Palestinians say a number of women and children died in the strike, but the Israeli government says some of the worst and most dangerous Hamas terrorists were hiding inside. They released the names of 9 Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad terrorists they say were killed in the operation.
The school had terrorists who actually took part in the murderous attack of October the 7th.
IDF chief spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari says many international media reports relied on Hamas's claim that 33 Palestinians or more were killed without acknowledging the terror activity at the school, saying some media outlets had fallen for Hamas's tactics yet again before checking the facts.
The terrorists inside this school were planning more attacks against Israelis, some of them imminent. We stopped a ticking time bomb.
This girl says 5 missiles hit the school, one striking her close relatives. The Israelis say they were doing all they could to avoid hitting civilians.
You know, we actually called it off twice just to be sure that we were precise and to limit any unwanted civilian casualties.
Our Air Force used precise munitions to target the 3 specific classrooms that the terrorists were hiding inside.
In Rafah, the Israel Defense Forces say they're conducting precise operations. They have destroyed a massive tunnel along with rocket launchers hidden near a UN post. They also uncovered a Hamas tunnel entrance inside a child's room in Rafah, identified a house rigged with explosives, a weapons workshop, and weapons throughout the area. Despite claims of a food crisis in Gaza, a new study by 2 Israeli universities found Israel has met or exceeded international standards for humanitarian aid deliveries to Gaza. The study debunks claims by the UN and some NGOs of famine in Gaza and found a more than 50% increase in food deliveries into Gaza from January to April of this year. As the battles rage on in Gaza and beyond, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told the IDF Central Command Israel is fighting on many fronts.
We're fighting in the south, we're fighting in the north, we're also fighting here in Judea and Samaria. This effort is being carried out in the midst of difficult international pressures that are exerted on us.
Netanyahu is now scheduled to address a joint session of Congress on July 24th. Despite the international pressure on Israel, the IDF is making progress, projecting that the military operation against Hamas in Rafah will be over by the end of June or sooner. But the weakened terrorist group is shifting tactics, with Reuters reporting it's moving more toward an insurgency style of fighting, which could extend the war for months. Chris Mitchell, CBN News, Jerusalem.
In any other war, what Hamas is doing would absolutely be labeled a war crime, and the world's attention would be on Hamas. I don't understand how the UN can get away with any kind of deniability if you've got terror cells in your school building with weapons and rocket launchers. How in the world do you not know that? But to use UN facilities, to use civilians as human shields to protect yourself in an ongoing war is a war crime. And let's have the international community call it for what it is. Instead of focusing all the attention on what Israel is doing, what about the provocation that's just come from Hamas? What about the war crimes of Hamas? What about the terror attacks from Hamas? What about the rockets from Hamas? What about the murders and the rapes and the hostages? All of these things seem to be buried in this counter narrative that somehow Israel is the enemy. Israel is the evil party here. It's not the truth at all. Hamas is the group that started all of this. Hamas has to cease to exist. They want to wipe Israel off the map. Let's all recognize it and call it for what it is.